I've been curious about this for a while, so I picked up the Torque Solution polyurethane shifter cable bushing. This one's actually listed for the first gen TC only, but this will work on the second gen as well. It's going to replace the rubber OEM bushings on top of the manual transmission to give a more firm feel for the shifting and to reduce or remove the wobbling when you're in gear of the shift knob. I do like improving the feel of the shifter when I drive, so I feel like this will probably be a good upgrade for me. Now, it's not really going to give you any sort of performance upgrade, but if you like to have a good feel with the shifter, this will do the job, or should do the job. Now, I've already done a few upgrades on mine. Aside from a weighted shift knob, I've also installed the TRD short shifter, which you can see right here. There is a worm screw clamp around it. You can watch the installation video for this to see why I have it on here. I've also removed this cap here and replaced the spring in here to also improve my shifting. As for the bushings that we're going to be replacing this morning, there's one right here, and there's also one right there. So I'm basically going to pull these pins out, lift the cables up, and then replace those bushings. Now, there's an entire video on how to install this that Torque Solution did post up, where you remove the factory air box to get to it, and I'll link that above. But basically, if you're already running an aftermarket air intake, you'll need to take it out so that you can get access, or better access, to the bushings and the shifter cables. So for the K&N Typhoon here, that's going to basically mean unbolting the worm clamp here and removing the filter, loosening this worm clamp here, and then once you've got that out, there's 3 bolts that you just remove, and then the entire shield will come out, and that will give me enough access to get to the bushings. I've got the filter off, and I've loosened up this worm screw clamp over here. So now all I have to do is remove these 3 bolts and get the shield off of here. So I'm taking the last bolt out. If you don't have the right tool to get this out, you can remove this piece here by removing the 2 screws here, and then this will pop off. You can also take this off if you're having difficulty trying to get the shield out and disconnect it from here. But I've removed this before without having to do that. Well, that was more difficult than I remembered it to be, but I got it off. So next thing to do is to use some pliers and remove both these cotter pins here and here, and then lift the cable bushings up. Here's what the pin looks like. You just have to pull this side away from the pin, and then the pin will slide out. Once you get that out, you can basically lift the shifter cable off the top of here, and I've already removed the bushing. So the bushing actually sits inside like this, and if you just take a screwdriver, a flathead, and wedge it in between the top of the shifter cable and the metal part on this bushing, and then give it a twist, it'll pop right out. And you can see it's pretty soft rubber right here. Here's the new bushing. It's going to slide in from underneath into the ring here, and then this clip pushed into place to keep it from coming out, and then you put the new cotter pin in place. Do yourself a favor and keep the old cotter pins just in case. I did have a difficult time trying to get a replacement one from Toyota. They just could not find it anywhere. So keep the old cotter pins in case one of yours breaks. One down and one to go. Once you get the bushing in place, just stick it on top of the transmission here, and then this clip will just slide right in really easily. I didn't have to use any tools whatsoever for it. This one's going to be the same process. Stick your screwdriver in right about there, and then give it a twist, and it should pop the old bushing right out. Alright, the new bushing is in place. All I have to do is just press the clip into place here. Actually, this might be a little bit more difficult to do it while holding the phone, but you should be able to get this in place without having to use any tools, but you'll probably need to use 2 hands to press it. And done. That was pretty easy. You got to put the air tank back on, and then we'll see how the shifting feels. I ended up having to remove this anyway, just because it made it easier to get this long bolt back in. There is a metal spacer underneath up here, so make sure you don't lose that and that it's in place when you reinstall this bolt. When you're reinstalling this, be sure to at least get 1 screw in place before you actually press it on here, otherwise it might rotate and then you'll have a hard time trying to find where the screws go in onto it. Oh yeah, that definitely feels much firmer and a lot more solid going into the gears. So it's a pretty inexpensive mod and easy to install. So I posted it up already on Facebook that I installed this, and some people have said they've even installed brass bushings in their car, and they really liked the way that the shifter felt, and now I understand why. Having that nice solid feel when you go into gears is great. Now that I've done a little bit of driving around with the bushing installed, I'm definitely happy that I installed it. Aside from it being relatively inexpensive and easy to install, it has definitely improved the feel of the shifting. I mean, I thought my shifts felt pretty good to begin with because I've already installed a spring and the TRG short shifter, but adding the polyurethane bushing into the mix has definitely stepped it up a notch. I hope this helps you out if you're considering getting some bushings for your manual TC's transmission as well. Thanks for watching.